Is yet another podcast with NUFC Women. We have a lot to catch up on. We've had 3 games since the last episode where me and Joe were in the stack. And of course, we've got a little derby coming up this weekend that you might have heard about as well. I don't know what Joe's dressed as, but he's trying to tell us something.
I'm an ultra, you know what I mean, for the derby. Me and Emmy, we're coming for them. They got the hot dog, sausage, and a burger bun. No.
Fair enough. Adam, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Lee. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for asking me. You might have seen Adam once or twice. And Uncle Jeff also in one of our few pods as well. Vlogs, sorry, rather than pods as well. So we've got a lot to talk about. You can see our beautiful live chat underneath our beautiful 3 faces. Brad's already... No, it's Brad. I can't even read it. It's Brett, sorry. Good evening, lads and lasses. Hope everyone's okay. Looking forward to a great show tonight. Thank you very much. Do keep your chat coming in. We will answer them and any queries or any thoughts, opinions about the players, the results, what have you. But we'll be with you for an hour, maybe just over an hour, because we do have a lot to rattle through. We also have Who Am I, which is a little quiz that we do with you as well. We jump straight into Clue 1, and then we'll jump straight into all the topics on hand. The lads apparently don't know the answer to this either, so they're going to play along as well. And here is your first clue for tonight. Now, this could be anybody linked with NUFC Women. It could be a fan. It could be a player. It could be an ex-player. It could be a current coach. It could be an ex-coach. Anything to do linked with NUFC Women. And the first clue for people that are listening on the audio is my father was a footballer. There's your clue 1. My father was a footballer. Clue 1's always the hardest because we want you to keep playing along. So, any thoughts from you 2 lads? Don't give it away, but have you got any ideas?
I've got an idea,
No,
but
I'm
not going to say who it is, who I think it could be. But there's an obvious one.
We'll come back to that a little bit later then, see if you do get that. Because there might be a curveball in there somewhere. It is, yes. So, obviously, going back to the trip, we will start our journey tonight looking back at Portsmouth, the long journey all the way down south. And we're going to take a little look at the lineups because there was a surprise inclusion or declusion. Few shots of the ground. Quite a few Newcastle fans, to be fair, considering the distance. Fair play at them who've done the travel. But let's take a look at the lineup. And the big omission is Potsy. Potsy does not start this game. I don't know what thinking with Becky is there. So maybe it's a tactical decision. Maybe it's a niggle. Who knows? But it looks like we think there's 2 options that we think Fernie will just come in and play alongside at the back, or will she switch it at 3 at the back and play wing backs, allowing Demi and Lewis Joe to push on. So we'll have to wait and see. Kick off, but atmosphere is building. We're about 20 minutes before kick off now. How are the lasses? Come on! So that was myself just down Portsmouth. We've got a few comments. Cosey's in there as well. Evening, gents. How you doing, Cosey? All right. Danielle as well. Evening, lads. I hope Potty is back in the starting 11. I think we missed her last week. So we'll go back to Portsmouth, Joe. That was the big one, wasn't it? Where's Potty? She was on the bench. We were like, who's playing centre-back alongside Deanna then?
Especially when you consider, I like to think that Becky's a bit of a creature of habit in the situation that we've faced Portsmouth before, and we had Potty then, and we used that, and she was great there. So I don't know what went into the thinking of not having Potty there, because as far as we know, there wasn't a knock. It certainly shocked me. But yeah, I do know. It's a one I ponder on often about why Potty didn't get the start. Obviously that goes further on as well. Last weekend's match, but it's a strange one, especially against rivals who we know, not rivals, but against an opposition who we know we can beat, we know we can go toe to toe with, and with a structured back 3 or back 4 with Potty. So it shocked us. It did shock us.
Adam, what was your thoughts on it? Because we were kind of trying to guess what system is she playing at the back.
Yeah, because there was probably an idea she might go back to a back 3 like she did last season. I don't know, putting Fernie in the back 4, you've got somebody who's going to be good on the ball, can carry the ball out of defence, but then Potty can do that as well. So, it seemed to me like it was a very similar sort of role. So, I suppose in that sense you would go with one over the other. But by the same token, I think it was a massive shock to leave Potty out, particularly for a massive game like the Durham game, the derby. Yes, she played in midweek, and I wasn't sure she might be carrying or not. We might not be aware of that. And maybe she cannot play like twice in a week, and that was another thought why Potsy was rested and they put Fernie alongside Deanna Cooper. But seeing that lineup at Portsmouth, I was massively shocked.
Going into this game though, Joe, it was like this will be interesting because we played them last season in the cup, and it was very narrow until Georgia Gibson came up and scored with a typical goal at the Gallagher last minute. But Portsmouth, obviously, before the game, have lost the first couple of matches. But I thought was largely looking at the game, it was largely dominant by Newcastle, minus the spell and maybe in the second half where they had a little bit more of the ball for about 20 minutes. But I thought Newcastle dominated.
When I was watching it, I watched this one at home, and when I was watching it, I was very, very, very shocked at how well and how much we made Portsmouth. Like, we all remember St James's Park. We remember how tight that game was. Like, Georgia Gibson's 90-minute winner was an absolute wonder goal because of the time that it got scored and because of the game that had happened. To then go against Portsmouth, it was almost like a completely different team. Like, I was like, hold on a minute, are we really dominating this much? And like you say, second half, they had a few chances, they had a bit more of a push, but they just didn't seem like the team that were faced in the back end of this, in the semi-finals of the Cup last season. But, these things happen sometimes. It's sad because I was excited to see Portsmouth as like a big giant, to really like be like a team who would go have a big head-to-head against, and it was quite one-sided. No disrespect to Portsmouth, obviously, but yeah, sad that one.
Yeah, we'll come on to some of the goal scorers in a moment. Shawsy's gone evenly. What's that echoing noise? I think it's Joe, actually. If it's not me, I think I can. Adam, am I echoing?
No, you're fine, mate.
So it is, Joe. We'll point the finger at Joe. And Cosey's gone on to say, didn't Becky mention in her press conference last week about Fernie giving them a left-footed option at centre-back? Could that mean Jodie Bartle may have a good shout, that, because she's not far off. Jodie Bartle may have a part to play when she returns. Is that something that Becky might be looking at, Adam?
Possibly. I did have a quick chat with Jodie on the way out after the Durham game, and she seems to think maybe Charlton she might be fit for a bench. So I think the Sunderland game might be just a little bit too soon for her. But yeah, I would love to see Jodie back in, and when she is fit, for me, she should be in the back four. It will give Becky another option, and as you say, I'm sure she will be got that in mind. And I mean, it'd be a nice problem for her to have then, because she's never had the full strength squad since like day one of the season, has she?
The true, but she's almost had like 22, 23 players available, which is probably also on the flip side unheard of, because the amount of injuries Becky's had since her time has been here, probably last season, probably the best that she's had. I know Becky Ferguson was long term, and so was Jodie herself. But overall, I think this season, she's started off with, touch wood, not many injuries, and obviously we know that Emma Kelly's back. But the game itself, there you go, Joe. It looks like you've sorted it, because a couple of people were saying that the noise is not as bad, which is great. James gone and said it's a noise what you get when your old mobile phone is about to receive a call. Not heard that well. Do you remember that when it would go?
Yeah. That's what I thought I could hear it. I wasn't sure what it was. I thought I could hear it again there, though. I don't know what's causing it.
Yeah, I could hear it for a second time. It stopped again.
It came back. I thought so. I haven't got, guys. I do apologise. I do not know what's causing this. I've got no new technology around us or anything like that.
You can always leave and come straight back in. Your camera will be perfectly fine to come back in.
Yeah, I'm just do that, guys.
Right, no, but I'll see in a second. Adam, I'll come to you with the some of the stats here.
Mm-hmm.
I've got this lady picture for everyone that's listening on the audio, Jasmine McQuaid, because I thought she was absolutely sensational.
On Sunday or just in general?
In Portsmouth.
Oh, in Portsmouth, yeah, she was. I mean, she's had a great start to the season, and she deserves to have her Seller Player of the Month award. I think her story's just been fantastic, isn't it? I mean, she was training with the dev team when we were in Tier 4. Then last season, she was sort of on that double number 10 position with Georgia Gibson. And now she's made the role her own, and she's playing in the second tier. So this is fantastic. She just keeps going from strength to strength, and I think as the team evolves and develops, she's sort of rising with the club. It's great to see.
Yeah, and you look at obviously the stats from the game itself. Obviously, I do want to talk about the goal scorers. Obviously, Jazz got on there as well. I want to talk about Amy in a second. Look at Newcastle are in the blue. For everyone that's wondering which graphic that we are on that screen, you can see that Newcastle are practically almost dominant on every single thing. So it was more of a barring that spell of, as I say, 15, 20 minutes where they had a lot of the ball, it was a case of if it stays 1-0, they may have a chance, they may conjure up something, but it didn't, thankfully. We got, obviously, as I say, Jazz's goal, but I'll come back to coming across to the celebrations with the graphic here. If we pull this open here, Amy Andrews, I want to talk about her because obviously this was her first goal. Yes, I know she's got 1 or 2 in pre-season, but she had a chance just before her goal where it was like, ooh, she probably should have done a bit better. But shortly after she scored, and that would have given her massive confidence, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah. I mean, was it not her third chance of a game when she eventually finished? But like, she never let it get to her. As we saw in that press conference after AC Milan, she's a confident lass. But getting that first goal will be a massive weight off her shoulders, and I think you could feel the relief. I think most strikers tend to thrive on confidence, and I think she'll be no different. But I think we're all relieved to see her get off the back with that goal. And to be fair, their goalie, I thought, had a really good game.
Yeah, we'll talk about goalies with good games a little bit later, shall we? Because that seems to be a reoccurrence as well. The interference is from Sunderland, and Causey thinks, speaking of Jazz, who am I? He thinks it's Jazz. Interesting. There could be a curveball in there, as I keep saying. Keep your comments in, who you think it is. We'll come up with clue 2 a little bit later. Joe, I'll come back to you, see if your audio's any better. Amy Andrews, it was important for her to score because she needs to get that monkey off her back, get amongst the goals and start scoring some goals. And no doubt her aspirations at St James's Park when it was in front of us all with the press as she wants to be top goal scorer.
Aye, and when you're seeing that confidence, obviously everything's sounding good right now. When you see that confidence in Amy Andrews, it's one of those where I know it's starting again.
It's definitely some of your mic, Joe. Try sort it out. We'll come back in. So obviously it's important because if she doesn't score, there's going to be people going on top of her and, she doesn't score many goals. But great to see her get off onto the scoring sheet. And if I just bring up a little bit as well, some of the chances that we created. And I mean, look, obviously I've got Demi Stokes' pictures, but look how many chances that we had. It's an absolute ton.
Yeah, all in a similar area as well. But I mean, Shania has been fantastic, hasn't she, since the start of the season, and obviously Demi Stokes as well down that left hand side. It's proven to be a good route for us to attack teams. But yeah, just going back to Amy, I think, as we said, it's important for her to get off the mark. Strikers will always be judged on goals, unfortunately. But I've also got to say, I think Amy gives us a different dimension up front.
Do you like that? Because she's not a striker who gets a lot of the ball. She's a striker that wants the ball played through, either high or low, because of her pace. And there's going to be times of the game, in some games, where she'll not get a kick for an hour.
That's right. Yeah. It's often she can be isolated. You can almost forget she's on the pitch because of that. But she has to stay sharp, and I think she has been doing. And I think, again, with that goal she scored against AC Milan, that's kind of been her Newcastle career in microcosm, really. She's not had a great amount of time on the ball, but then when that chance came to her, she buried it. She was in the right position. She was composed. She finished emphatically. So we know she can do it. It's just maybe, Newcastle don't necessarily play the style of football which is best suited to get the best out of Amy. And, it's trying to get that fit right, isn't it? Do we change slightly in terms of the service we give to her, or does she have to adapt to the way we play?
I think, it's a good dilemma to have, isn't it? Do you play for your striker or vice versa? Do you play for the team? But obviously we hope that she gets on a run of goals on the trail as well. Obviously we've got 2 more games to talk about, which she obviously doesn't get on the goal scoring sheet. But I think our first one was important, and hopefully we'll see a run. But obviously the game was fantastic for Newcastle. It was very easy. I'm just a little bit disappointed we didn't go and score a lot more. That was just kill the game off. But 2-0, and it's fantastic to see a few fans from Newcastle travel down. Obviously, there was a lot of Southern fans as well. Newcastle got fans up and down the country, so we'll always fill out. And it was a good attendance. I think the attendance was announced incorrectly. I think that included certain things like season ticket holders, but there definitely wasn't. I think it was something like 1,300 or something they announced. There wasn't. There was probably maximum 500, 600, I would say, and probably a third of that was probably Newcastle fans as well. But yeah, big shout out, and I also want to give thank you to a few players such as I want to give a big shout out to Izzy, to Joel. I don't know what's happened there with Joe. Obviously, Becky and even Amy Andrews herself messaged me privately and just said thank you to all the fans that came down for such a long way as well. So that was really nice. Dale's in the comments as well. Dale comes to some of the lasses games as well. Jazz is going to score screamer on Sunday. We will talk a lot about the Mackems a little bit later, but we'll wrap up this section with Portsmouth with my little clip that I did as I was leaving the ground. Yeah, down in Everton Waterloo FC, Newcastle United Women have picked up yet again another 3 points on the road. That's 7 points from 3 games, and they've also got a game in hand on some of the teams above them. It's a fantastic start for Becky Langley's side. As we know, they've had a double promotion, and then the league will be looking at this and thinking, some notable performers. I thought Jazz McQuaid was absolutely sensational today with Newcastle coming away with a 2-0 win. Another clean sheet for the defence. We've seen Rachel Furness play in defence for Charlotte Potts. So that was a bit of an eye-opener, but overall, thought she was solid. Jazz McQuaid, as I say, without a shadow of a doubt, player of the match. And of course, Newcastle did get off to the start through Amy Andrews putting us 1-0 up earlier on in the game. Plenty of chances in the first half. However, second half was a little bit nip and tuck for me, whereas the home side were getting a lot more into the game, and it was the case of Newcastle do need that second goal, I felt, and it did come, and we got it, as I say, through Jazz McQuaid. But it's a good start for Newcastle United. 7 points from 3 games. Absolutely fantastic for newly promoted side. And it's never mind looking down at the table, it's looking up, you know. Expectations might rise if Newcastle United keep this form up, and Becky Langley will be delighted as the rest of the squad jump on the plane and head north, as we are literally at the end of the country down here in Portsmouth. But that's it from me. On behalf of the Pink and Newcastle Fans TV, Newcastle United Women have come in with a 2-0 win here down in Havant against Portsmouth. Cheers, everyone. Yeah, so that was our little reaction for the Football Pink as well as NFTV after the game, when Newcastle at that stage picked up 7 points from 3 games and had a game in hand on a lot of teams above them as well. But yeah, so we'll go back to the clues. Clue 1 for everybody who may have just joined us. Clue 1 is my father was a footballer. Could be professional, could be an amateur. Oh, you see. And then we go to clue 2. We have a little look at that. This might give it away a little bit. I have been interviewed by Lee on Newcastle Fans TV. So I have been interviewed by Lee on Newcastle Fans TV. Joseph, hello. I'm going to have to add Joe because he's come on a different camera. Joe, you might have to wait a couple of minutes, mate, because he's come on a different camera. So that was that. Yeah, so that's 2 clues then for you. The first clue is I have a footballer dad. The second clue, I've been interviewed by Lee from Newcastle Fans TV. Has that helped you, Adam, a little bit by any way?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Well, I mean, you've interviewed a lot of people on Newcastle Fans TV. So
we have been covering the women for 6 years, so
yeah,
that might go back a little bit with you. But yeah, so that is clue 1, clue 2. We'll give you clue 3 a little bit later on. So the games didn't stop, did they? They come around quick and fast. We had a WSL side on Wednesday night, and let's have a little look at the lineup. For everybody at home, is there anyone on that lineup that you're thinking I'm looking forward to seeing tonight?
Definitely Jazz McQuaid, Katie Parker from last season. They were phenomenal. It's great to see them again. And also seeing the new signings, Hayward and Furness and Sibley. I'm looking forward to seeing them the first home game that I've watched them seeing. I'm really looking forward to it.
And obviously there's a change. Hannah comes in goal, which is a little bit surprised. I thought Grace might, but it is Hannah. Maybe Becky's changed the keepers around with the two of them. Who knows? I'm really looking forward to seeing how Izzy gets on. I thought she was really bright and she came over and spoke to us on the weekend after the game. That was really nice. So good to see her start. Jazz McQuaid was absolutely sensational on the weekend. And obviously Newcastle come away with a 2-0 win there. But this is a really tough opposition. Are Newcastle expected to win tonight, Dale, or are we expected to probably go down fighting?
They were definitely, I think it's going to be a good match. It's the first time like Super League, apart from Manchester when went down for the FA Cup, it's like the first Super League team to play. It's the first, it's home and all. But the Lasses were unbeaten. They're going to come in with confidence, and Everton haven't won a game, so they're going to be on the back foot. Which I think Newcastle, the Lasses, can win this. I'll be happy with a win or a draw.
Dale will be happy with a win or a draw. Adam, I'll come to you with this. Did you expect many changes from the Portsmouth game, knowing we're playing a WSL side?
I did. I think it was more the fact that we had Durham in mind a few days after. And with all due respect to the League Cup, the Championship games are more important, particularly a derby game. So yeah, I was expecting to see a few players who hadn't featured a great deal throughout the season come in. I thought Liv Watt was outstanding at right back. I thought she had a really strong game.
I agree on that.
Great to see Sophie Hayward up front as well. I thought she. I mean, we've seen her out wide earlier on in the season in the league games, but I thought she was good through the middle. And particularly hers and Isabella Sibley, their press early on, putting the Everton back four under pressure was immense. So no, I was pleased to see the change. Obviously, KB came in on the left wing for Shania, didn't she as well? So no, it was good to see, get some of these lasses getting some minutes under their belt as well.
A couple of comments that will come in. John says 3-0 on Sunday in Newcastle. I'll take that in a heartbeat, mate. I'll take that in a heartbeat. James, the Liverpool base fan, it's absolutely typical that the two games against Merseyside opposition are up in the northeast with only Man United that one close to me. Well, James, we're always travelling most of the time, so I think it's got to come back for us Geordies up here. Joe, you sorted?
Well, by the sounds of it, I don't think anything's clicking now. Everything sounds good. Is that correct?
Sounds good.
So
Sounds good. Tad quiet, but it sounds much better though.
right. So the issue was, gentlemen, is that better again? Is that
Yeah,
much better?
fine. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the issue was, gentlemen, basically what I'd done is I pulled a floorboard up under my bed, and what I found was 3 Nokia 3310s. So I had to get out with a can of spinach, just like Popeye, glug glug glug, pick them 3 up, chuck them outside, and they were gone. We're sorted now.
Fair enough. So I was just asking the question there to Adam. I'll ask it to you, Joe, as well. We got off to a fantastic start, didn't we, through our lioness. We got a couple of reactions here from the goal and the goal conceded, but obviously of the night, the first half I thought was the best first half all season so far. Considering it's also a WSL side, it was like, bloody hell, where's this come from? You know what I mean? I know we've got 7 points for the first 3 games up until this point, but against, I thought Everton will be a lot more dominant. And obviously, the first half we looked like the WSL side, and then of course in the second half, naturally, you would say quality. Obviously, they bring on a lot of their big guns and fitness as well. Because I thought Izzy Sibley was brilliant first half, kind of shaded second half, so fell off a little bit. And I think a lot of players did, to be fair. But what did you make of the first and second half?
Oh, I thought the first half was absolutely wondrous. I couldn't believe the way it was started. The attacking press was insane. I just came in before when Adam was mentioning about Sibley, and yeah, wow, what a player she's been. Hayward, everyone, the way we played against Everton, it was non-stop pressure. You said it perfectly yourself about how we made them seem like the championship side. I couldn't believe it, to be honest, the first half, how well we're done, especially when you consider, right? Didn't we lose to those fake Scousers back in pre-season 4-0, and now we're coming back and we're going 1-1 against them.
Yeah.
Come on, that's improvement. So I was really happy by the end of the first half. Absolutely went insane when the goal went in. I couldn't believe it. Demi Stokes, as I say all the time, I'm stand correcting on Demi Stokes. She's an amazing little player for her. But yeah, the goal went in, unbelievable, really early on, just what we needed. Didn't capitalise on that, sadly. Second half came out, and you could see it was sort of it was the experience thing. I think like Everton are more used to managing that kind of game compared to Newcastle. They've probably played in lots of nail biting games where it went down to the wire, and they were able to obviously get the goal in against it, and we just didn't really have the wherewithal to come back at them, which is fair enough for where we're at. Like, honestly, I did not walk away from that second half being like, well, we could have done this better, we could have done that better. Nah, I was happy with it. The second half, I walked away. The penalty shootout was a different question, though. Like, I really hope that we're practicing with penalties and we're penalty saving, because that was not really nice. That reminds us of being young. young boy watching Newcastle.
Yeah, cool. Adam, I'll come to you as well. Obviously, the stats, yeah, it does look like Everton obviously dominated, but that's not really a true reflection, I don't feel, because I think literally it was a game of two halves, wasn't it?
It really was. That 45 minutes, I thought we blew them away. As Joe said, that was the best 45 minutes of football we've played. Probably not just this season, but since as long as I've been watching the Lasses, considering the level of opposition that we had. Everton are a well-established WSL side, packed full of internationals, and we more than held our own. In fact, we were the better side in that first half. Second half, they made changes. They made a crucial change. I thought they brought somebody on into a holding role in midfield to try and sort of snuff out Jazz McQuaid's through balls through the middle. And that from kick-off at the start of the second half, I thought Everton were really strong. They applied a lot of pressure. They got their goal something like the 53rd minute. And yeah, it seemed to descend into a little bit scrappy then. I think Everton were relieved to get back level. And then the game just sort of evened out a bit after that. But I don't think we were by any means second best in that second half. Yes, Everton improved massively because I had to. I think we forced them to improve. But it was just an enjoyable game of football. Yes, as you said, it probably was a game of two halves. But I'll take that. I would have took a draw beforehand. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would have 100%. I think that's what I said as a draw. And to lose on penalties, I don't think there's any shame on that. And that's a bit of a daft rules with the competitions and what have you. Quite similar to the men's St. Johnson's Pizza Trophy, whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
So I think it's the penalties are a lottery. I think you just look at it and think Everton might have won, Newcastle might. It's 50-50. I think the keeper, we got them all on target. Keeper saved them all. Yeah, they'll get the extra point, but Everton realistically should have got 3 points. No one coming up the across the M62 and across up the A1, what have you. They would have expected to get 3 points. For Newcastle to hold them in 90 minutes and to have 4 games unbeaten at that stage was absolutely a great start. And
yeah.
There's no shame in that, and it because I set the jaw off camera as well. I don't want to go into you got Liverpool next in the League Cup, and then you got Man United. You don't want that Man United game have nothing to play for. You want something to play for. Maybe you can finish second, or you never know if we beat Liverpool. We might have a chance. It might be the shootout between us and, no pun intended, us in Man United last game of the season when we're going across to Leeds Sports Village. So interesting though, it is. It's a fantastic, and up until this stage, Joe, is this the performance and results so far?
What, like best one of the season?
So far. Is it better than Portsmouth, considering who we played?
I was thinking, is it better than Lionesses?
London City.
Yeah, that's the only one I would really compare it to, because I think a lot of people expected us going to that game and losing, as I did with Everton. No, actually, Geordies WSL side, and we've held our own. Like Adam said before, they're quite a giant in the WSL as well. Not at the minute, but they have been. They're a mainstay team there. I would say this is probably the statement and the result and the performance of the season so far. Hopefully there's another one coming very soon. But yeah, this so far has done it. Mainly for the way we present ourselves on the pitch. Like again, to go back to it, we really, really embarrassed. Not embarrassed, that's a bit strong. Actually, no, we did. We're embarrassed the WSL side, made them look like a championship team. Hey, Chick, what are you talking about?
I thought it was a great first half of the night, Chairman. I think when we talked to Becky afterwards, Adam, you can tell she wasn't like as disappointed because she knew that she's obviously got the point and so on. And we'll hear from Becky in a second. But Dale's gone and said, what do you guys think the reception more we'll get going back to Sunderland? We'll park that, Dale, because we'll come back to Sunderland later. And Causy's taking the mickey out with Joe, saying, I've never heard Joe so quiet.
And am I louder now? Am I better?
Yes, it does sound like you were very quiet before, like.
Honestly, I don't know, between my microphone and my audio issues, I'm pretty certain Aaron Embleton's hiding somewhere, because that's the only time I have issues like this. Shout out, Aaron. Love you. Aye, madness. I'm glad it's fixed now. Apologies for the issues, guys. We'll see what happens forward.
Right then, here is Becky Langley.
When it's 5 minutes in, you must be thinking that's the perfect start. You couldn't have asked for anything better. Yeah, no, started on a really positive foot, and yeah, really pleased that Demi's obviously got her first goal for the club. I think Katie will be disappointed in maybe making it two at the back post. But yeah, it was a perfect start, and we didn't want to be fearful going into the game. We wanted to, as always, play to win. And yeah, I think when we played them in pre-season, we probably gave them too much respect. So it was about making sure that we made that right today.
Hi there.
Hiya.
What can you learn when you're taking on a WSL side in terms of league action? Because there are obviously higher teams and obviously in a higher division. How can you take that in a positive aspect into your league form?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. Actually, Demi said something similar at the weekend when we were playing Portsmouth, and that's no disrespect to Portsmouth or anyone in our league, but she was saying, like, even in games where we might feel in control, you know, don't play at a championship level, play at the level you're trying to get to. And obviously, there's no test like that than playing a WSL team. Out of possession, it's tough because you've got to be realistic and probably say that each game we come into in the championship, we look to possess the ball more than the other team, but you've got to be slightly realistic, and you're probably not going to do that as much against a WSL team as much as we had a decent amount today. But in possession, it's just the speed of thought, knowing where your next pass is before you receive the ball, and then the players around you have got to offer you options before it's even sort of come to you. So it's just being that step ahead. And then a big one's communication, especially out of possession. Like in the championship, you can maybe get by with being a little bit quiet and having a couple of leaders on the pitch, but out there when you've got Everton's like full-backs rotating into a 10 or whatever, you've got to have people communicating constantly. And that's one thing we've tried to be better at. And that's something we can obviously take into the league games.
Yeah, I thought she spoke really, really well. Adam, I'll come to you on this. And when we were in there, we were like, man, there's a confident lass, isn't she?
She is. She was really well spoken as well, wasn't she? And come across very confident. I liked her. Yeah, I had a bit of a chat with her off camera as well because she's from Hull, and I've got a few friends down there through the ice hockey. So no, she just seems a really nice lass, and she seems really happy to be at Newcastle. I got the impression that she'd had a difficult couple of seasons prior to arriving here, and in some way she feels at home here, like sort of instantly, didn't she? I think she said.
Yeah, because we asked her, because how it goes in the press conference, I always stand at the back of the camera, so I have to always think last.
Yes.
So there's about 10 questions that have already been asked. I'm like, well, that's been asked. Right, I'm going to ask a random funny one, and I always do. So there we go. And Johnny is in the chat there as well. He pinched one of my questions as well. And I actually said it, goes, oh, Johnny's pinched one of my questions. So I'll rephrase mine about Geordies.
Yeah.
Johnny's obviously got his starting lineup in there as well. We will come to Sunderland because that is at the end because that's the biggest game of the season. And Sunderland are also bigging that up as well. So we'll come to that a little later. But as we've seen there, Joe, with Becky, she didn't sound very down. She knew that it's a good performance against a WSL side, considering, as you mentioned earlier, we got battered 4-0 in pre-season. So good result, wasn't it?
Yeah. Becky's all about markers. So like where am I at right now? Benchmarks, that's the word I'm looking for. She's always about benchmarks. Where am I at right now? How can we go further? So I think Everton would have been one of those games that Becky walks away from and she's very excited about analysing that one. She's very excited about talking to the lasses about what we can do better. A lot of lessons to be learned. And I think if there's one thing we know about Becky Langley is an amazing student. She's an amazing student of the game. She's great at learning more. She's come a long way, and she knows she's got a much further, bigger future ahead of her. She knows it keeps her in, as you can see on screen, it keeps her in an all right place in the group. Keeps her ready to fight for something for the Manchester United game. Yeah, Becky has no reason to be worried after Everton. Not at all. She doesn't need a reason to be down. She's got everything to look forward to. I'm still confident, very confident in Becky Langley.
Yeah, you can see the league table there. Newcastle picked up a point. They're ahead of Liverpool, but from the group table, only one team will progress. So it's literally one team only. Very similar, as I say, the Pizza Cup, St. Johnson's, Checker, whatever it's called now. I've lost track what it's called now. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. Newcastle play Liverpool next. So if Rachel Laws get to games against the best pal, Rachel Furness, which will be very, very interesting on that. And speaking of Rachel Furness, I wanted to ask you guys, obviously now she's had a couple of games at centre back. I'll come to Adam on this. Is this the new role for her this season?
It looks that way, doesn't it? Again, Becky saying in the press conference we were trying to find somewhere where she felt comfortable. She went off at half time against London City, didn't she? And I think she's on the bench for the Sheffield United game. Whether she's just felt more comfortable because she is in a deeper role and has got more time on the ball. She's 37 now, so naturally her game is going to slow down somewhat. Or teams are going to recognise that she is the threat because look, she's took the last, was it 2 out of the last 3 seasons? She's got a team promoted from this league. So playing deeper gives them more time on the ball and can control the game more. So I think it's looked quite positive in the games that we've seen so far. I think she might do. I mean, look, there's a massive competition for places as well in that midfield, isn't there? And with Emma Kelly coming back from injury, she's somebody else who's going to come in. But you've got Captain Amber Keegan-Stobbs, who's, I think, been fantastic the last 2 or 3 games. So it does create a position for it in the team, doesn't it? By playing in the back four. You can't say she's not done well there. She's been outstanding in actual fact, Fernie. So, yeah, I can see this being a position going forward. And similarly, there's not a great deal of options in the back four, is there, at the minute? So,
yeah, there isn't, is there? And obviously, we'll ask Becky that question because all you have pinched my questions in the presser, and here's what she said.
I think she signed as a number 10, and somehow she's in the back four. No, I think yeah, she just wants to play, so she's happy to play anywhere. It really helps having a left-footed left centre back, obviously, and she's just played so much football. She's got a great football brain, and you'd be happy with her anywhere on the pitch. She'd make a positive impact. But I think we want to get her on the ball more, so it gives us that option. How good she is aerially, and she's such a good organiser. So I thought she did really well, and something we'll probably look to explore again.
Something we will look to explore again. Of course, obviously she did play there against Durham, and she puts herself about in the air, and it's good physique, big physique as well. So it kind of makes sense in a weird way, as Adam was saying that. So, her legs are getting on. Her legs are getting on. Is that the right terminology? It's not, is it? I think you know what I meant. Maybe her pace is gone. That's what I'm trying to say. So bringing her back, it does bring competition at the back. Obviously, you haven't really got too many options. Hannah might drop back. We've seen Amber play there as well. So I think to get a game in this squad, I think you have to be versatile. Because if you just stick to one position, I think it limits you. And I think Becky Langley can do a couple of positions. But I do want to touch upon Amber Keegan-Stobbs. I'll come to you, Joe, because Adam's kind of mentioned it. I thought, obviously, she was saved for the Durham game. But I thought did she play an hour? I think she played roughly. I thought she was absolutely sensational.
I think Amber Keegan-Stobbs is playing our best football right now in black and white stripes this season. I mean, look, she was fantastic last season, no doubt about it. She was one of the players I would walk away from most matches going, is she my player of the match? At the minute, it's stayed the same, but there's not many people who are contending against her for player of the match for what she does. She's playing a bit more of a she keeps dropping into sort of like a 10 role, which is mad to see. Playing the ball into the box a lot more, getting more up there in the attack, which I like to see. She did say last season that she wanted to be a bit more involved in the attack, get a couple of goals under her belt. So it's nice to see, and it's interesting to see her pace. It's interesting to see her positioning. But I think the most impressive thing about Amber Stobbs right now is the way she links up with her team. There isn't you can look at other players and go, you guys need to work together a little bit more and get a bit more training together on the pitch. Every time you put Amber with another player, if she has to work one-on-one with one of our other players on that pitch for passing and getting the ball up, she does it perfectly. She fits with everyone. She's got when you talk about chemistry on like everyone around, and probably people watching this have played FIFA games and football managers, and you talk about chemistry. Amber Stobbs is that one who, when you go to scout for your squad, it comes back and says she is a perfect fit for Newcastle United. She is showing that right now. She's unbelievable.
Yeah, well said. And she's got competition, so it ups everyone's game, doesn't it? Of course, he's gone on to say Fernie's done very well at centre back, but it doesn't deprive Potsy, Liv, Geordie, etc. of game time. Emma went to right back on Sunday. and I just worry that players out of position may do for confidence of others. Yeah, we will talk about the Durham that is coming up next, the Durham game. James gone on to say Amber Keegan-Stubbs and Jazz both have remarkable close control. They can pick the ball up, keep it better than anyone else on the team as well. Fantastic. Yeah. So do keep your comments in. Back to clue 1 for our player. My father was a footballer. Clue 2. I have been interviewed by Lee on Newcastle Fans TV. Who could that be? Do get your comments in. We're going to now switch across to the Durham game, where me and Johnny have a little chat about the lineup.
Training, Johnny. Durham, we'll look at them first. Obviously, flying in the league. What's your thoughts about them? Is this a tough test?
Very tough test. Obviously, 4 games in the league. They've had that extra game, whereas Newcastle obviously had that as the odd team out. So 3 wins and a defeat at Charlton, which they look back and be a little bit disappointed at, where they were on the look with, I think, 10, 15 minutes to go and conceded 2 late goals. So they're a tough outfit. Very, very tough outfit. They beat, obviously, Portsmouth as well by 3 goals to 0 away from home. Newcastle, very similar results. So be a really big test. I've heard from a few people they are quite physical as well. So be interested to see how Newcastle react to that.
Speaking of the two, obviously, you can see the lasses there training. Obviously, Becky Langley's made a couple of poor decisions. Rachel Furness keeps her place at centre-back with Potts on the bench, and obviously Beth Lumsden, we believe she's got a knock, is that right?
Yeah, I think Beth's recovered from a knock, but she isn't quite ready to start. So obviously Sophie Hayward, who was brilliant midweek against Everton, she comes in. She'll probably start on the right. That we think Amy Andrews will continue up front, but it's more or less the same. It's the same team pretty much as the game against Portsmouth last week that you were at. But yep, obviously Charlotte Potts not starting. It's obviously Diana Cooper and Rachel Furness, and at the minute it's good competition, very very good competition at the minute.
There's a lot of competition. Joe, I'll come to you on this as well. Is that back to Fernie and Potty again? Fernie's now at the last 3 games been twice above her. Competition for places. It's fierce now, isn't it?
Oh, plenty. I'm sorry about audio. You can't see this, but I've got a shocked look on my face on the camera because I'm really getting into. We don't know the answer to this, and I'm really getting into this one. I've crossed 2 names out, and I've now got another name there, and it's. I feel like I'm watching an old school TV show, like Countdown or something, you know. Well, Adam Hammer's in a new shelf on his wall there. But look,
plugging in my battery's going flat.
Competition for places. It is a very. I keep saying this, right? When you want to talk about Claudia Moan versus Grace Donnelly, there's a big good problem for Becky Langley, and then you add Hannah Hawkins into the mix, who's doing amazing. Now we'll look at the back lineups. I don't think there should be so much competition in the defensive side. Like obviously when it got brought up by Causey before about Emma Kelly coming on and going into right back. Emma Kelly came on. I turned around to Alex Snowden, who sits behind us, and I turned around and I went, "Are we going more attacking?" He went, "Aye." And then Emma Kelly slots in at right back. I was like, hold on a minute, what's going on here? Where's Olivia Watt coming on? I was a bit confused by that. So I don't think the back 4, I don't think there should be much competition there. When you move into midfield, the midfield right now is absolutely stacked. It's stacked. Like, there is so much choice. The wings, you've got Hales, you've got Lumsden. You go into the middle, you've got Becky Ferguson, who hasn't made a full return to the team yet. You know, who we know can do a job. Stubbs, Body, the list goes on. McQuaid, Kelly, like Greenwood. Oh my God, there's so many you can name on that side. Isabel Sibley, new lass, doing amazing. There's a lot of competition, and then you get to the front, and I don't think there's competition unless you're starting to put the likes of Jazz McQuaid into the equation. So yeah, I think midfield and goalkeeping, definitely plenty of competition for places, but I don't think the back lineup should have too much, which I think where the main focus is on at the minute. I've just rambled on for ages. Sorry, guys.
I wanted to bring up, because yes, we've been beaten, but once again, this is the This is what we call the dominance graph. So this is where in spells of the game, whichever team has the most dominance, and if you clearly look, Newcastle have so much dominance in this game. Obviously, Durham have obviously scored towards the end. That's where a lot of large of theirs come into. And you have to say, Adam, that their goalkeeper, by far, player of the match.
Tatiana Saunders, yeah, she was
incredible.
I mean, I watched them quite a bit last season, and I was never entirely convinced by Tatiana because they had Mackems there as well, an Irish international. I think who's gone on to play for Celtic now. But I watched her play against Watford last season, and she was at fault for both their goals. But she looked a completely different player on Sunday. She looked composed. She looked a world beater, didn't she? I mean, I think we threw everything at her just before half time. Amber Keegan-Stobbs had, 2 chances in a minute. She forced Saunders into the tip over, went for a and back. She had another go at it, and Saunders tipped it over again. It was one of them days. I think she just stood on her head, and whatever we threw at her, she was going to stop.
She was absolutely sensational, incredible.
Yeah.
But we were saying to a couple of people at half time, well, if you didn't score when you're on top, it'll come back and haunt you. And it's an expression you hear quite a lot of, don't you, in football? And it clearly did. And obviously the goal conceded was very, very, a bit. And there's a couple of, I put that Everton one up there. I put the wrong one on, which is typical of me because of Joe's come back in. You all right, Joe?
What the hell just happened there?
Oh, we can hear you. So as I was saying, it's a game of. You all right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what the hell's just happened there. I've just had a whole crash and everything happened. This is going great.
So as I was saying, I'll come back to Adam on this. When you're not on top, it'll come back and haunt you. Newcastle didn't put the chances away, and they scored. And yet, do you point the finger at Deanna Cooper, or is it just one of them where it can happen?
Well, I mean, ultimately it was Deanna's slip which led to the goal, but you can't blame her for that. I mean, that could have happened to literally anyone. It was just bad. It was unfortunate. Their striker, Carly Johns, is really pacey. She looked like she was going to get on the end of a few balls when we were playing across the back line. I thought, you know what, she could just nip in there, just stick her toe out and just steal it and be in. And that's almost what probably could have happened if Deanna hadn't have slipped. But no, I'm not gonna blame Deanna for that. It's just one of them things, unfortunately. But you're right. You know, we had chances early on in the game. We didn't take them. And I don't want to call it a smash and grab by Durham, but I think, yeah, had we put the game to bed by then, that doesn't happen. That chance at the end. But they've been in this league for 11 years. They know what it takes to absorb that pressure. I thought they defended really well, to be honest, for much of the game, Durham. They didn't make life easy for her. Nor should they. You know, but they know how to manage these tight games and these situations. And it's not like perhaps in the past where, you know, when we've been in tier 4 and tier 3, even if things haven't necessarily gone our way, the opposition hasn't been at the best, shall we say, for want of a better term. But we've always found a way to score. You're not going to get it that easy in the championship level. It's much tougher, and games are going to get settled on the slightest of decisions like that.
And I think when you're on top, you need your goalkeeper to be on top, because I remember Claudia had to pull off an absolute worldie of a save as well to stop them from scoring, and she's been really, really impressive. Possibly, what shall I say it? Up there with signing the season so far. She hasn't really put much wrong, to be honest with you. And I think it's just, I know Grace has been here for such a long time, and she is, I think there's one or two comments in there. Grace is club captain, but Amber is pitch captain. I see there's a few people commenting down there below, but Grace has been here for a long time, and obviously Hannah played in goal midweek, and she kind of fell down to look for what it looked like third choice. But you can't disagree and say that Claudia does not bring something extra, because she does. She has brought something. She's kept the most clean sheets in it. We're kind of starting to see it now, 5-6 games in, where she's decent her, but she done her bit, but we didn't in front of goal. And obviously, as I say, Becky tried to change a few things around. There was a lot of, for the first time since really the cup final, a lot of criticism. Probably a lot of it was out of warranty. Wasn't warranted. Sorry. A lot of knee-jerk reaction. We are going to get beat once or twice. It happens. I just think some of the reaction online was like, how are you, man? We haven't not played bad. They've gone and nicked at the end. But George, can you look at the lineup or any substitutions that you want to look at and think maybe that shouldn't have happened? Or can you, obviously it's easy to say it in hindsight, isn't it?
Yeah, there was one walked away from that game, and it's one of those when you asked the question you asked before, I was like, oh god, I don't really want to answer this. You're putting us in a predicament, but I think I've got a very constructive way to put it. I don't think I've ever really went against Becky's judgment, but I think there was one substitution that needed to happen, and I know plenty of people will agree. And I do think Deanna Cooper should have came off a bit earlier for someone like Charlotte Potts. We needed fresher legs in that back four. By the time it got to the 65th, 70th minute, yes, Durham weren't getting many chances, but when they were getting a chance, they were getting a decent advantage. And I don't blame Deanna Cooper, but again, we've got to consider our players' age, where they are in the career. And I felt like Deanna had done a role on the pitch at that point, and I feel like Cooper should have been coming off to give her that rest, bring fresh legs and Potty on. Looking back, that's the only thing I would probably change. Would it have got her a goal? Probably not. Would it have stopped that goal going in? I think so. And we would have walked away with 1 point. But again, I ain't no manager. I don't now go against Becky Langley because of one little error. These things happen in football. We pick up, we move on, we dust ourselves off, and we go on to the big one this Sunday. Simple.
Adam, what was the thinking with Emma Kelly right back?
Um,
Was it to get her on the ball a bit more?
I think it was, yeah. I mean, we mentioned before the competition for places in midfield is so fierce. Emma's literally just coming back to full fitness, and it's getting her back on her feet and getting a taste of the action. She come on against Everton in midfield. I think it was more in an advance role, wasn't it? Because I think she came on for Jazz McQuaid. But yeah, I mean, I can understand her thinking of putting her on a right back. She is good on the ball, Emma. She's got that sort of defensive responsibility as well, which I think she can do. But yeah, I think it literally was just to get on the ball, get her eased back into the team, and get her some minutes under her belt. I mean, perhaps the more natural replacement would have been Liv Watt, and after the game she had against Everton in midweek, I think there's a lot of fans were in agreement she perhaps could or should have featured, because I thought Lewis struggled a bit at times. But then I think I mentioned to Joe, is she naturally a fullback? She spent much of last season in midfield, didn't she, for London City? So it's an interesting one. As you say, hindsight's a fantastic thing. But yeah, I think bringing Emma in was perhaps the right idea, just to get her some minutes.
Yeah, we're missing Leah Cataldo as well for competition as well. So, obviously she's missed a few games now, so hopefully she's not shouldn't be too far out. But I would like maybe just to go another one up top, go two up top, change them up, because I seen the men's the game before, and it was like Newcastle had dominated the Everton game at home. Away at Goodison. Dominated, we just couldn't put the ball in the net. I was like, get Willis Hula on. It's another striker. Go to top, and kind of like we're dominating again. We're not scoring again. When the women's side was like, put someone up top. But look, hindsight's an easy thing, isn't it? And it's disappointing. And before we hear mine and Joe's reaction outside Kings of Park, I'll come at Adam back on this one as well. What do you make of Durham's reaction? The players going like this and all of it? Is it just part of it? Is it part of the derby? Is it because it would have one or two Geordie lasses done the same back if it was the other way around?
Yeah, I mean, look, at the time, my reaction, I wasn't in favour of it. I get why they perhaps did it. Do I think it was necessary? No, not really, because those two players certainly weren't singled out for any abuse during the game. They were remonstrating in front of a bunch of young kids, from what I heard. And I look, again, could be wrong, but rumours were bad language was used. Look, it's a derby. Players are going to be fired up. I get that, but why not celebrate in front of your own fans? That's kind of a point. And I've got to ask the question that if that was Sunderland playing at Kingston Park, which I know they won't because we're playing them at the Stadium of Light and St James's, but if that was Sunderland, I don't think their players would have reacted in the same way. I don't know whether it's just Durham feel a little bit aggrieved that they've been part of the furniture of the Championship for 11 years. Sunderland, but they have, haven't they? And Sunderland have
getting dusty over there. It's getting dusty over there, mind. But they need a new sofa.
So, Sunderland have sort of been up there challenging for promotion, and they've developed a lot of good talent who've gone on to play in the WSL and indeed for England and the Lionesses. And we've come in with a pretty big fanfare. We've got money behind us. and Durham are quite unique in the women's game, and that they're not affiliated with a men's club. So perhaps they felt that they weren't getting as much attention on them as they felt they deserved, and that is part of it. But look, I mean, I try and stay neutral as much as I'm a Newcastle fan. I do a lot of media coverage on the league and North East football for a local radio station, so I try and stay as unbiased as I possibly can. But no, I don't think that reaction was what was needed. Look, if you want to celebrate in front of your own fans, which is what they did at the end anyway, at the end of the game, and that was fair enough.
Yeah, I think it is part of that. Newcastle, the big boys, got all the money, the talks on Newcastle. We've just won them over them in front of their own crowd. I think it's emotions have played up a little bit, but we won't forget that. An elephant never forgets, so we will remember that away fixture. There'll be one or two fans who will just, remember that. But it was disappointing. Look, a derby is a derby. Newcastle got beat 1-0. This was mine and Joe's reaction just outside the ground.
That I've asked today, it's all about that first half, not putting chances away.
We didn't capitalise on the chances in the first half. We had so many of them. Got to give props to the Durham keeper. She did do absolutely amazing, but at the same time, there's a couple of those opportunities where you just think, hit the ball that little bit harder or pass it out and put it to someone who's clear of the defenders. Props to Durham for the defence as well, though. It was a hard game, hardest one so far.
Well. The keeper played really well, so they've celebrated in the little pocket of with fans that came up just up the road, 15 miles down south. But it's a shame, isn't it? 3 points to Durham and none for us. But the big one, the derby, the proper derby, is next week. We'll have to see how you're looking forward to that. Is it a tough one? Or?
I'm excited. I think Sunderland looks like they've came back a bit today with the form, and they've drew 3-3 with Sunderland.
A good time to bring some form back.
Yeah,
as well.
I think that is what we wanted. They know they need morale and they need a good bit of energy behind them going into the derby. So I think next weekend, when it comes to the derby, it's going to be a really, really, really good showing.
Really, really, really good showing. I think that was mine and Joe's reaction. Joe, Casey Elson, but a little bit negativity because it wouldn't be right if we didn't bring it up. She's the only outfield player. Maybe I think someone's mentioned in the comments before. I think it was John mentioned Becky Ferguson, but I think she's. I don't think we have to worry too much about her because she's still really young. She's only 19, I want to say. Yep. So she'll probably might head out alone. But what's the crack with Casey Elson then? Because Georgia Gibson's only had one sub appearance, but Casey's not had anything.
I'm not sure with Casey. It's one of those where you've got to ask yourself, how is she losing her place so easily in the squad? I know last season towards the back end, Casey was more of a super sub, and that's fine. She did a brilliant role there. I loved seeing Casey Elson come on. You knew business was about to go down. But why is it not happening right now? I just can't place my finger on it. She's not injured because she played for the Devs.
Yeah, she did.
And I mean, if she's playing for the Devs, is that just to keep her game time up? I know a couple of people have mentioned maybe there's players whose contracts now say they need to play so many games, and Casey's isn't one of those, so she's losing out. I would hope it's not that. Maybe she's just not match fit. Maybe she has been holding knock that we don't know of. I don't know. I do miss seeing her though, and I would like to see her at least on the bench and making a substitution appearance this Sunday, because I believe that's the type of fire that you need in big derbies, not the woo derby. We need some real like passion players, and I think Casey Elson is one of those, especially considering that she hasn't had game time yet for the first team. I would like to see her on the bench, but I don't know. It's strange with Casey. I do miss her though. Casey, massive miss.
I've got two. I'm going to stay on that as well, Adam. I've got two questions in one with you. One, are you worried that she might leave because she's not getting game time? And two, is there just too much competition ahead of her?
I would probably say yes to both. I think Casey's great. Much like Joe, I'm a big fan of Casey. She was born just down the road from where I was born, actually. So I've got a soft spot for her for that as well. But she just works.
You have a soft spot for people where they're born in places. Is that what it is? you got some great aunt in Inverness next time we sign a Scottish winger or something.
There you go. Yeah. No, she's from rugby. I'm from Northampton. It's just down the road. I had a chat with her about it, and it's just nice to see somebody from the area living in the northeast, the same as me. But I mean, joking aside, I think the way she's performed, she's been fantastic over the years. I think the year we got promoted from Tier 4, she was arguably our best player offensively. She was coming up with the goals when we needed them the most. As Joe said last year, she was a bit of a super sub, but the amount of players that they've brought in this season is, let's be honest, it is going to make it more difficult for her. We've got Sophie Hayward playing on the wing where she can play there, but
Beth Lumsden, Izzy, Katie Barker left.
Exactly.
Naya
Katie
left.
Barker was on the right on the left last season. She's been playing on the right this year as well. And obviously we've got Isabella Sibley on loan from Palace, and Shania's a Jamaican international. So the competition for places has never been higher. Look, she's too good of a player not to be getting regular game time, and I suppose it will come a time, will she be thinking about moving to another team in the North East, particularly if Borough go up this season and go up into the third tier. That might be a natural landing spot for her. I hope that isn't the case. I hope she stays, because she is an exciting player to watch. But yeah, it's just, as we were saying before about the midfield, there's just so much competition for places out in the wings. And I think Uncle Jeff mentioned in the press conference, didn't he, on Sunday, about he asked Becky, are you not settled yet in terms of you starting wingers? Well, she's rotating 4 or 5, isn't she, right now? So that would suggest to me that she perhaps isn't, or that she needs certain players for certain situations. But hopefully Casey will get her game time at some point.
Yeah, it's not the only one. George, as I mentioned, just to go back to our PE, at the end of the season, and I think Becky Ferguson's got a lot of time on her hands. She's really young, so I don't think we have to worry too much about her. But difficult though when you've got nearly a full squad now. She's got, I think it's only really Leah and Jodie Bartle out now, so there's 23 players, and you kind of keep them all happy. So 2 or 3 are going to have to be left out the match day squad, but. Bring up the league table before we talk about the big game this weekend. So this is as it is now. So Newcastle have dropped down to 6th place. We do still have a game in hand on a couple of teams above us, London City Lionesses and Birmingham. We can catch them goal level, but Birmingham's goal difference is ridiculous at the minute. Sunderland have picked up a little bit of form because we're kind of coming on to Sunderland now, though. Sunderland got battered 5-0 and then they got beat, 3-0? But then they've started to turn it around a little bit. They've got a great win against London City. And then they got a good win in the League Cup, and I think got a point against Charlton as well. So, Joe, I want to come to you then. I think it's teed up perfectly for the weekend. Sunderland got a bit of form. We've come back off a Derby defeat. Something has to give this weekend.
Is this it? Are we doing it? Are we talking about it, yeah?
We are. We're moving on to Sunderland.
You get your hot dog, sausage in a burger bun. Sunderland's a massive club. No, they are not. PG version, because that's what Emmy's going to be singing. Look, when you bill it like that, Lee, it's going to be a good game. They've just went against the league leaders, probably the favourites to win the title. Sunderland are looking like they've got a bit of morale behind them. They've got a bit of okay, we can give Newcastle something with the big dogs to beat, as you said before. Of course, Sunderland are not only going to want to beat Newcastle, but beat the big dogs in the league at the same time. They're coming for the gullet. They're coming straight for the jugular. And us, we're finally coming up here, and we want to go and prove a point against Sunderland and say to them, yeah, how many years you been in this league?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you left one tense moment there. He's just left it, hadn't he?
Yeah.
He's left it. Look at him. That was just tense moment. I was like, wow. As Joe reshapes his camera back. Clue 3. This might reveal who this mate is. We are going to reveal a little bit later. Played for Middlesbrough, Sunderland, and Newcastle. So there's your clue 3. We'll go back to clue 1 for you. Clue 1 is my dad is a footballer, or was a footballer rather. Clue 2, I've been interviewed by Lee on Newcastle Fans TV. And as I've just mentioned there, clue 3, I've played for all 3 of the North East teams, which of course is Newcastle, Sunderland, and Middlesbrough. So I played for all 3 teams. Joe's back with us as well, I think. Is he back?
Yeah.
He's back, yeah. So those are your 3 clues. So get your comment and we shall reveal after we talk about Sunderland. But we'll go back to Sunderland as well. So I'll come back to, I'll go to Adam on this as well. Sunderland's form, we're kind of talking about that in a minute. I'll bring it back up on screen. Obviously,
Yeah, it really is. I was actually at that Southampton game at Sunderland. Sunderland weren't as bad as that scoreline suggests. They missed a penalty at the end of the first half, which if it goes in, at that point it was 0-0. If it goes in, it's a different game. Southampton kicked on and got the go-ahead goal, but then the second and third goals were absolute worldies from about 35 yards out, which goalie could never have stopped. So it was a flattering scoreline, and I think it was a case of perhaps us against Durham. Sunderland never took their chances in that game, and it came back to haunt them. Then they were on the bye week for week 3, so give them a chance to regroup. And they went and took down London City, who hadn't lost a game at that point, and then they've took up the first points off Charlton. So 2 of the toughest games they could have possibly played. It's brought them into great form coming into a derby. And as you said, I mean, they're going to be as fired up for it just as much as we are. There is going to be that, of course, that historical element with the men's clubs, which of course we don't have with Durham, and neither does Sunderland have that with Durham. But we're all excited for it. We cannot wait. There's obviously Sunderland-born players playing for Newcastle. There's Newcastle-born players playing for Sunderland. So that's going to be an interesting subplot as well.
Oh, you've just timed that perfectly. Look at the graphic I've got on next. Look at that. Ex-Sunderland players. I will read it out for the people that are listening to this as well. So there's quite a few. Grace Donnelly, she's a Geordie. Claudia Moan, she's a Mackem. Charlotte Potts, she's a Geordie. Demi Stokes, she's a Sand Dancer. South Shields. Liv Watt, Liv Watt was a little bit uncertain of. I'm sure Liv Watt is still a Geordie. I'm sure she is. Emma Kelly is a Smoggy. She's Middlesbrough. Yeah, she's born in Middlesbrough. Dad's not though. Hello, Steve. How you doing, mate? All right. Fernie was born in Sunderland, but lives and breathes Newcastle. Got a Geordie accent. Georgia Gibson, Geordie. Jazz McQuaid. Now I've been polite and put it as Durham, mate, or you could call it Pit Yakka, whatever you want to call it, people from Durham. And then Katie Parker, mad Newcastle fan, Geordie as well. So, Joe, I'll come back to you. Obviously, we'll talk about the fans, but inside the squad, the North East girls in particular, you can even throw in Alicia Body because she's a Borough lass as well. She'll know what the derby is, Newcastle Sunderland. How much of those will be drilling in it everybody else? This means everything.
Well, before I do that, I just want to go a little bit further on that list and go Katie Barker is also a Wallsend lass, same as me. NE28, said NE28. It's gonna be one of those moments where it's probably a dream of a lot of these lasses to go and play a derby in a competitive setting. Like Katie Barker, Emma Kelly, they played it last season in the pre-season, and where we got beat by Sunderland, and it was a really hard game, but it was a friendly. These lasses want to go in and they want to really give it their all and make. I'm a Wallsend lass. I set myself up for that, didn't I, James? Damn. Anyways, it's one way you'll see later in my lineup, but I've got a lot more players on the lineup who I think are going to be the ones who want to live, breathe, and die. I beat Sunderland. Everyone wants to get the name on that list. Like even the likes of you look at Bruno and Joe Linton, they were 2 players who aren't even from Newcastle, but they're wanting to live, breathe, and die that derby, and it's the same here. It goes further than just like being from Newcastle. You've got the likes of like you say, Alicia, but well, she's Borough, Beth Lumsden, Shania Heels. They're going to know what this is about. That dressing room is going to be talking of times of old, of how the derby would be. 5-1s, all this sort of business, heartbreaks that have happened. It's going to be an amazing moment. And one thing, and you've just put it up on screen, which I think is brilliant. I would love to see us get a picture just like that when the men did it. When we win and when we beat the Mackems, it's going to be class. I think every single one of them lasses on that pitch is riled up for it. There's going to be one, though, who is going to be the centrepiece for every single other one. Whether she's on the bench or whether she's starting, Charlotte Potts is one of the most important homegrown players in this match because she knows how to stay calm, she knows how to stay reserved, and she knows how to keep emotions out of it. She will be teaching.
That's if she plays. If
she's not on the pitch, I think she's going to be important even on the bench. I think pre-game she's going to be a very important character into this one. I would like to see her kind of give a pre-game. This is not taking the mick at all because I do it as well. But I would like to see her maybe give like a little pre-game meditation or something. You know what I mean? Get everyone in the zone.
Yeah, I mean they'll all be talking about it. They'll all be doing it all week, and then 1 or 2 will be speaking up as well. I'm actually in this picture. You can't see us. But just where the flags are at the top, towards the top left, the furthest flag to the top left.
Look at
I'm standing there because I was up there when we seen it and we won 3-0. What a day that was. But thankfully, we don't have to be shuttled in by cattle in a van or anything like that. We've been allowed to make our own way there. The Sunderland have given us an allocation of 2,500. I think if it goes above that threshold, don't get me wrong, I think there will be some few people in the home end as well. But if it goes above the threshold, it might come down to police. Have to shuttle it in, which we don't want really. But for the fans, though, Adam, what a moment! What a moment this is going to be.
Yeah, well, for the Newcastle fans, this is what they've wanted for the last couple of years when we started out on this journey, looking to come up the leagues. I think, certainly last season we were counting down the days almost to clinch promotion and think, right, when do the derbies begin? And with all due respect to Durham, I think Sunderland's a big one, as I said before, simply because of that history between the men's clubs, isn't it? It's always going to be there. But yeah, this is the one that we want to win. It's at the Stadium of Light as well, which is going to be a great venue for the fans to go to as well. And I'm sure equally the Sunderland fans will be just as fired up for it. From when we last saw yesterday, I think we'd sold a lot more tickets at that stage. But I mean, there's no telling how many might turn up on the day from Sunderland. So yeah, both teams are going to, and both sets of fans will be relishing it. And yeah, I just cannot wait.
We're all looking forward, and even Sunderland are trying to bill this as the biggest ever attendance in the Championship because I think they're trying to get 20,000. But it's not the highest attendance in the North East, is it? Because we've had, 30,000, and a little tier 3 as we were. I think it's the Portsmouth game that was 30,000, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah, which was technically a cup game, wasn't it? So, but yeah, either way, it's going to be it's good for North East football to see this happening, and regardless of
puts a spotlight on both of it, doesn't it? And it's good.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think it's actually come at a perfect time, even though it wasn't planned. The international break, where there's no men's football for either Sunderland or Newcastle. The focus will be on the lasses, and I'll keep this polite, I'll be quite peeved off if the local press and etc. are not covering this because they've got nothing else to talk about except from stadium expansions or stadium want to move away. That's all that's making clicks at the moment. They have to cover it. It's the derby, and you've got a lot of men supporters who are also women supporters as well, and vice versa. So big game. Sunderland are building it up. We will put a Sunderland graphic up because we are nice on this channel. Of course we are, which is always fun and games. Obviously, we want to see these kind of scenes at the Stadium of Light. People upset, people crying, people getting emotional for the wrong reasons.
Lee, that's got levels to it when you consider that most of the fans who go to women's games are kids. I still want to see it.
Fair enough. We want to see tears. We want to see joyous celebrations. Obviously, I think the Durham game was more like a, I don't know what's the word, like a qualifier for the derby, if that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe. Or to be honest, I think that game meant more to Durham than it did to us.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
and this was always going to be the biggest game playing Sunderland for us, and likewise Sunderland would say the same. As much as they've enjoyed the River Wear derbies over the last few years, and we've seen some cracking games last season as well, this is by no means, this is the biggest game that Sunderland would want to play, and they'll be thinking the same way as we are.
Yeah, 100%. Right, I've got some questions.
James a pack of Haribos or something, because he's had me creased a few times in this podcast for some of his comments. James, take a bow, son. Take a bow. Your next pack of Haribo Star Mix is on me, mate.
Right, if he's at the game, he's at the game. Right, dilemmas before we start wrapping up because my Mac is running low on battery. First few questions I want to fire at you. Joe, I'll give this to you. Who are the two centre-backs starting this game?
Charlotte Potts and Rachel Furness.
Do you agree, Adam?
I do, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Deanna's dropped, interestingly. Does Lewis Joel continue at right back? Obviously, we're assuming that Leah Cataldo's, depending on what the injury is, or do you bring Liv Watt in? Who starts there?
Olivia Watt.
Personally, I'll bring Liv Watt in, yeah.
Interesting. Emma Kelly comes straight in centre midfield?
No.
I think she'll be on the bench.
I don't even think she's going to be on the bench, lads.
Do you not?
I've got a feeling Emma Kelly won't.
So won't be in the
feature on
first 20
Sunday.
at all.
I don't think so. I don't know if you remember, but she took quite a head knock
Yeah.
the other day.
Yeah, she did.
I've got a feeling there might be some precautions going on there, and she might get on the bench, but I don't
Yeah.
think she'll start. Like, nah.
Might be concussion protocol, mightn't it? Yeah.
Last one. Does Beth London start on the right wing?
I would put her in.
Yes.
I thought she made a difference when she came on. Arguably, should have started, perhaps. But yeah, I mean, when she has started this season, she's looked impressive, hasn't she? The game against Sheffield United, in particular. Yeah, I'd have her in, definitely.
Interesting. Some quick fire
I
ones.
think you've missed one there. Do you start Hayward or Andrews?
Andrews.
Yeah, I think Andrews will start. I mean, you could not have played her against Durham, against her old team. She'll be raring to go after last weekend. She'll be wanting to get back.
I think Andrews will get the start, but I would have liked.
She needs another goal. She needs another goal.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, she does.
Because you don't want 1 in 7 by that stage. Then it's 1 in 8, and it then starts getting inside your head, doesn't it? It does.
Yeah.
Right, the clues. Let's reveal the player then before we wrap up. Then, so clue 1 was my dad was a footballer. That's the clue 1. Clue 2 is I have been interviewed by Lee on Newcastle Fans TV. And then the final clue, where have I just put that? There it is. I have played for Middlesbrough, Sunderland, and Newcastle. Who am I? Joe, I'll let you go first.
I'm stuck down because, like, I'm certain this player. I'm stuck between two players. I'm certain one of them hasn't been interviewed by you, because you specifically say by Lee, and I don't think this player has been interviewed by you. But then the other one, I can't remember if she's actually played for Sunderland, but I feel like she might have done time in the Sunderland Youth Academy. Should I say who I've got?
Go on then.
I'm going to stick with Daisy Burt, but my other one is Jazz McQuaid.
Which one are you going with?
Daisy Burt. Definitely Daisy Burt. I'm going Daisy Burt.
Adam, what are you going with?
I was going to go with Daisy Burt. I knew she started at Sunderland RTC, didn't she, before she came to Newcastle, and then spent last season on loan at Borough, now at Derby. She was going to be my pick. Obviously, her dad, David Burt, was in the Newcastle squad in, I think it was 97, 98. He was like the Keith Gillespie's understudy, wasn't he? So that was my thinking why it would be Daisy.
She has been on Newcastle Fans TV, but I didn't interview her.
I knew it. Oh wait, no. Oh man!
Ta-da! I am Jazz McQuaid. Yes, it's Johnny who's interviewed Daisy. I was there right next to him, but I technically wasn't throwing the questions at her. So yeah, Jazz McQuaid is the person I was looking for. Well done to Cozy. I think he said it right at the top of the show as well. So he got clue 1. So well done, Cozy. Michael Corwood, I think you need to get out more. I really do. Because if you know that my dad plays professionally or has played, and you know that straight away, there's something wrong with you, Cozy. There's something wrong with you. But it was. We're going to wrap up because my battery's on 3% now. So, Adam, you enjoyed that?
Loved it, yeah.
We'll get you on again. And obviously, I don't know if we'll see each other on Sunday. Probably not. Because I know you've got some press accreditation. We haven't. So it's a shame. We'll cry with tears, but we don't want to be doing that. We want to be celebrating. You have to stay neutral. Joe, obviously tech issues for both of us. Me beforehand, you during. But hey, it happens, mate. It happens.
Honestly, these things happen. I know you're on 3%, but just before we go off, I do want to say to everyone,
no.
Anna Soulsby has been confirmed to have an ACL injury.
Yeah.
Now, this is a dreadful injury. She was out 18 months last time. We will be posting that GoFundMe link for this because, sadly, the state of women's football you can't quite just go out there and get easy access to surgeries and stuff like this. It needs to be paid for by someone. It is up to about 5,000 or 6,000. I haven't checked it in the last hour. Please, she has a target of 12,000. Anna Soulsby is a Northeastern legend, and she is one who will be devastated not to be playing the derby. Please help her out. We do not want to see her grow for 18 months. She's had an amazing start to our season, and she deserves it. Anna, we love you, lass. You've got this. Let's go, champ.
Yeah, best of luck.
I'll put a comment. I'll pin it for the link. I'll pin it on the comments because I remember Anna when she did it before the club got taken over. It was the same scenario, and I was there, right there. I filmed it right in front of us. She had the similar thing until the club obviously took over and did it for her. It would be nice if the club just did it for her. That's my own person. I would like Newcastle United to do it because she's been on the books for years upon years, and it's just unfortunate before and after she hasn't had the rub of the green. But I will pin that in the comments below where you can helpfully chip in because she has to wait for the NHS and she could be waiting. She could be out for 2 years potentially.
Yeah, not good.
This is on audio. If you're listening, 5 stars. Thank you once again to Adam. Thank you to Joe, my co-host, and we shall see us all very soon. And hopefully, was next speaking to you after 3 points on the weekend at the derby.
Lasses.
Cheers, bye.